Hey, it's Drybear, and today we're going to walk through everything that you need to know to get started in Enshrouded. However, I'm a firm believer that survival games are at their best when you leave room for discovery. So rather than give you everything about the game that you might discover on your own, I'm going to do my best today to give you just the mechanics that you need to know about the game without spoiling the exploration aspect that you'll find when you go through Enshrouded yourself. We'll talk about the class system, the talent system, the exploration aspects, some things that I definitely wish I knew before I started playing the first time, and everything in between. Special shout out to my friends at Keen Games and AFK for sponsoring this video. Starting with character creation, you'll be hit with this screen and you can make any character that you like. And don't worry, you aren't making any playstyle decisions with the creation of your character. That will all be in-game as you progress through the world. Next, you'll create a world and host a server, either private for yourself or public if you want to take advantage of the multiplayer co-op that goes up to 16 players in a single world. So it can be you against the world in a solo encounter, or you can join up with your friends or others online. And with the skill tree system, you can actually make functional parties that include tanks that can hold aggro, healers that can heal themselves and others, and all the other DPS roles in between. Next, you'll jump into the world and start exploring. But you'll notice that some pockets of the world you're in are covered in these shroud-like effects, a sort of mist that envelops certain areas of the map. Now, this mist is lethal to all living creatures. However, with the power of the flames, you're able to withstand its effects for a short period of time. When you first cross the threshold into a shroud, you will see that you become enshrouded. Do you get it? And a timer will start to tick down. When this timer reaches 0, you will instantly die and succumb to the power of the shroud. Now, you can easily leave the shroud and reset the timer, find special consumable capsules that will reset the timer for you as well, or locate the nearest return beacon, which functions both as a way for you to reset the timer while you're inside of a shroud, and functions as a respawn point should you die and you've activated the beacon. Now, Enshrouded is an RPG game as well, so you will be leveling up and progressing your character as you go through the world. The monsters you face at the very beginning are going to be nowhere near as fearsome as the monsters you face at the very far side of the world. And the same can be said about the shrouds as well. Some shrouds are far more menacing and powerful than others, and if the level of your flame's protection doesn't match the level of the shroud mist, rather than being blue, will be a deadly red. If you ever see a shroud that is red, it means that you do not have the flame level required to enter it, and if you do, it will be called Deadly Shroud and will instantly kill you or kill you in just a few seconds if you step inside of it. So you're free to enter your normal shrouds that are the blue-green color and explore to your heart's content until the timer runs out, and it's up to you to level up your flame altars to get a high enough flame level so that you can enter into the higher level shrouds for improved loot and more fearsome enemies. Shrouded areas hold special materials, special enemies, and unique dungeon encounters like shroud roots or elixir wells that will give you a boss fight, special materials, and give you skill points that you can use to make your character stronger. Exploration in this game is streamlined as well. Your quest log will always have options in it for you to chase down, and on top of that, you'll run into special key items and objects in the world that will give you additional quests and locations on your map. Ancient Spires are puzzle dungeons that will add markers to your map and unlock waypoints for you to instantly travel to. Anything that has a red glowing aura in the world will add either a lore update or more markers to your map, or even give you side quests that give you special loot. On top of that, your crafting list starts small, but every time you encounter or collect a new resource or craft a new item, that can unlock brand new recipes for you inside of your crafting library. Now, just like you woke up in a pod, there are other survivors that you can wake up in their pods as well, and they can join your town and give you their expertise in specific areas, with useful skill sets like blacksmithing or farming or carpentry. Taking a flame altar and placing on the ground denotes a new base for you to start building in. This is a safe zone that can house all of your structures and furnaces and workshops, as well as all of the NPCs that you'll add to your base as well. Each flame altar can offer services like being upgraded to allow for a bigger building area, strengthening your flame level so you can enter into higher level shrouds, as well as a dirt cheap skill point reset to allow you to respec at any time that you want. On top of that, as long as you're not inside of a shrouded area, as long as you're not enshrouded, you can fast travel to any of your active flame altars or any of the ancient spires that you've unlocked. And your objective is simply to explore the world, rid it of all this shrouded darkness, follow the objectives that you get from these survivors that you save from the pods, and help expand their inventory of craftables and equipment. You have a basic set of crafting called manual crafting to start with, and you'll start developing more workstations and saving specialists from around the world and adding them to your base so that you can craft even more. So I recommend going and saving all of the survivors that you get the early quests for so you can add them to your base and unlock the tool sets that they have. If you don't like a certain layout area for where you've placed your base, you can actually take advantage of the terraforming that exists in Enshrouded. Using a pickaxe or a hoe, you can reshape the land around you, raising it up, lowering it down, or denting holes into it to reshape it any way that you want. And this is where the building gets super interesting because you have a lot of flexibility in how you create structures, how you shape the land around them, and all the crafting recipes and materials that you've collected up till that point. Keep in mind that to craft from storage by default, you have to have special magic chests. So if you use the default chests, you won't actually pull from that storage when you're trying to craft at a workstation. However, I recommend just pushing straight to the magic chests in your crafting list, placing these down, and put all your materials that you'll use for crafting in them so that you have those available. You'll also unlock and build factories that have to have materials placed directly in them for them to function, but you'll be able to figure all that out. Your tools and weapons do have durability and they will break from repeated use. However, luckily the repair system is pretty simple. Open a workbench for any reason or go to an anvil out in the world when you're exploring and it will instantly repair everything that you have equipped and everything on your action bars. Speaking of action bars, there are actually 2 of them and you swap between them on PC using the Alt key, and for me, I liked having one for combat and one for construction and life skilling. When it comes to resources, there are a couple different types. Those that you will gather off the ground, just kind of freeform. Those that need to be harvested, like for example, taking a pickaxe and terraforming the top level soil of any dirt area to get the dirt. This one took me a couple minutes to figure out exactly where it came from. Or using the very same pickaxe on veins of materials or rare resources you'll find bedded into the walls, or the mycelium you'll find inside of the shrouded areas as well. So don't be afraid to start hacking away at the environment to find any resources that might be buried there. And lastly, there's going to be a ton of dropped materials from enemies, including wildlife for things like animal fur, enemies for specific craftables or metal pieces, or boss materials which you'll need for upgrading later on. Additionally, you'll find tons of pre-made materials laying around all over the world, and you can break almost anything around you to get materials as well. So if you see a wooden barrel and you break it apart, you'll probably get wood coming out of it. If you spot a metal crate and you break it apart, you'll get metal scraps from destroying it. You'll develop better and better tools for flying through the air, traversing obstacles, and extending the duration that you can spend inside of a shroud. Also, unlike most survival games, water is a precious resource in this one and is quite rare. You'll primarily find it by going to wells. There's one at the very start of the game when you come out of the initial cave, and you can eventually make your own wells once you've unlocked several quest lines away from the start. But if you see a water well, make sure you drain it dry and hold on to water because it'll be few and far between. It only drops from enemies or comes from wells, and sometimes it'll run dry. Next, let's talk about the combat system. You got your standard 3-dimensional combat, but there is rolling, attacking, blocking, and parrying if you activate a block the second an attack hits you. There isn't much downside for you blocking, and if you hit an enemy that is blocking, they do have an overpower meter, which functions like a stagger, which if you push through it, you'll be able to get through their block and start damaging them. Additionally, attacking enemies from behind will give you a backstab bonus, and you can unlock special ambush animations from attacking someone from behind that doesn't know that you're there. Additionally, enemies have strengths and weaknesses when it comes to specific damage types and elements. So you may find using fire magic against a plant or using blunt weapons against an armored foe will yield better results. Melee weapons come in the flavor of one-handed and two-handed, blunt, piercing, and cutting. You can also have elemental effects of fire, frost, lightning, or even poison. Ranged weapons can hit headshots, which is a fun mini game for them, and you can craft a myriad of special ammunition for them that do tons of different things. Magic has the choice of using a wand or a staff. The wand functions kind of like a ranged weapon with durability every time you fire it, and there's a lot of skill tree options that allow you to regenerate your mana when you're using a wand. Staves, on the other hand, use your big magic effects. They cast powerful spells that cost mana, and you'll spend it with the stave, and you can build it back up with special abilities or with a wand. And you need what are called staff charges to cast these spells, though there are options to get infinite versions of these spells as you progress through the world. Casting big fireball nukes, chain lightning effects, or even acid sprays are not out of the question. You can freely change your gear and weapon choice, and you can further specialize your playstyle with your gear choice and your accessories. Each of these can give wild effects that all stack together, which makes you insanely strong by the mid-game. As you're unlocking gear and progressing through the world, it's a little confusing at first how you determine which weapons and gear pieces are the strongest. And put simply, you will see two different stats on the gear, the level and the rarity. And you want to look at these together to determine whether it's an upgrade for you or not. The highest priority is going to be the level. If the level is higher, you can trust that in most cases, the gear piece is going to be an improvement for you. Then, if the levels are close or if they match, you want to use the rarity to determine ties. So if you're using a level 1 hatchet and then a level 5 axe drops, you know that's going to be significantly better, even if the hatchet is blue quality and the axe is white quality. On top of that, weapons can be enhanced at your main base, and this will unlock special stats and effects depending on the rarity of the weapon. Next, let's talk about the skill tree in the game. You'll be progressing through this web and unlocking tons of different traits, and again, don't worry, you can easily go back to your flame altar and respec for a measly 10 coins, which is almost nothing as you farm more and more in the world, and this price doesn't change, so you can just reset as much as you want. It's very cheap and very easy. Now, you can go in any direction you want. You can combine any amount of traits together that you want to make whatever playstyle that you want, whether you want to be a ranger, a rogue type character, a warrior, a mage, a healer, a tank for your party if you're playing with friends, or any kind of crazy combination that you can think of. You'll get skill points by leveling up your character, but also by clearing out the shroud roots and elixir wells that we talked about earlier for the exploration. So as you're traveling around the world, be sure to be clearing out the shroud roots and the elixir wells that you see on your map to add more and more skill points to your skill tree. The cheapest skill tree options are going to just give you a stat option, and it tells you what that stat does on the tooltip itself, so you can easily figure out whether it's for you. And before we move on, here's a couple really easy no-brainer choices for the traits that I think make the game a lot better, and I would recommend getting first as your skill point income is a little slow at the start, so I like going straight for these before I even specify my combat style. Inside the inner circle, picking up Mason is a huge boon because some of the stone elements that you're trying to harvest take quite a few swings, and the extra damage is quite nice. Quality gear reduces the durability loss of your tools, which is amazing, especially when you're using the stone or the scrappy versions of the tools, which break pretty quickly. On top of that, if you go up into the survivor category, a few jumps from the center is the option for double jump, and I recommend getting this right away as it opens up a ton of options for you in the world. It makes traversal feel a breeze and allows you to go through jump puzzles and specific unlocks with a lot more breathing room so you don't have to fuss with getting the jumps exactly right. It also allows you to get up and over obstacles that you normally wouldn't be able to, and in some cases you can even jump outside of the shroud to reset your timer if there's a tall point inside of the terrain. Additionally, I would look at getting rebound further up in the survivor tree, as this increases your base stamina regeneration by a whopping 50%. And this is awesome because it affects everything that you do: running, gliding, harvesting, fighting, swinging. Everything uses stamina, and having this go up by so much is a very easy pickup early game. And I'd also like to point out that some of the play styles can specify in a specific type of damage. So when you're collecting weapons or you're collecting playstyle options for you, think about that when you're trying to put things together. So for example, you could specialize in cutting damage, blunt damage, or piercing damage as a warrior. If you're focusing on magic, you can increase your ice damage, shock damage, or fire damage depending on the kind of wand and the spells you're casting from your staff. And you can easily check the damage type on the weapon by just inspecting it, and you can see right here in the middle next to the damage, it has all of these different damage options for the type of damage that it deals. So you go for a general combat style using either one-handed or two-handed weapons or both. Focus on more of an overpower options to blow through guard and deal damage in AoE, or have fast swinging one-handed weapons. You can focus on ranged weapons like bows, dealing damage with either direct shots to the head, skill shot damage, or special arrow types like explosive arrows or stun arrows or elemental arrows. You can focus on defense and be a tank for your party and take all the aggro onto yourself. You can dabble in healing magic to keep yourself alive, or focus entirely on healing to heal your entire party in tough fights. You can focus on wand magic, staff magic, or a mix of the two to go with spending mana and then recovering mana. And there's also more niche options like the Trickster or the Beastmaster Barbarian that can mix in some fun alternative options for you as you break through the fight. If you press N and go to your character screen, you can see all of your gear and stat. But I want to turn your attention to the status details area because there's some special things to know here. First of all, if you ever get a buff or debuff out in the world, you can look at the details of that here on this screen. On the buffs category, you'll see exactly what it is and what it does. There's also a rested system which you want to have active as much as humanly possible, and you get this by being comfortable in a warm area inside of your base or near a flame. You just got to sit next to a campfire or a furnace or a fireplace, and it'll stack up duration of a rested buff. This gives you increased maximum stamina and gives you regeneration for your stamina, and it is a huge boon to anything you're doing, so you want to always have rested active. This will pop up on your screen near your HP bar, but you can also check it on your buff status. As you add more comfort to your base, you'll get higher levels of comfort. You'll also be able to get more warmth, and you'll figure out exactly what all the different details are and how they affect the rested bonus. The other huge aspect to developing your character is your food effects slots. You have by default 3 different food effects you can have active at one time, and depending on the elixir or the bonus or the food that you eat, you get different buffs. So you can increase your magic damage, it can increase your critical strike chance or critical strike damage, it can give you additional stamina, it can give you additional HP, it can give you HP regeneration. There's tons of options for specifying how you want to give your character more bonuses through the stuff that you eat. And especially when you're going into a big boss fight or a new area, I recommend having rested active and having several food buffs going as well that work in your favor. You'll find things out in the field like berries or corn that give specific bonuses like health regeneration or stamina regeneration from sweets. You can collect meat from wildlife that you can use at a campfire to grill, which will give you additional maximum HP. And once you start unlocking more of the tradesmen inside of your village, you'll unlock more and more options for creating really powerful food and elixir bonuses that make your character crazy powerful. Also keep in mind that by default, your HP does not recover on its own. So you either need to eat food that give you HP regeneration, or you need to use bandages or potions to get your HP HP back up. Luckily, bandages are percent HP based, so they scale with you as you get stronger and stronger, and they're crazy easy to make. You'll just need torn cloth, which you'll get from most humanoid enemies, and string, which you can craft in the field from your manual crafting without any workstations by just collecting plant fiber and turning it into string. And if at any point you get stuck, be sure to press J to open up your journal. You'll find all of your craftspeople in here, which you can show all the different details they have. You can zoom in on their crafting options. You can also go to J and you can pick up your workshops and see what each different workshop can create. If you're looking for a specific item, you're wondering where it comes from, you can find the exact workshop that creates it. And you'll want to be clearing out your high-level journal quests as well, because these will unlock new options for your crafting. If you don't see something inside of your journal or your crafting area, either you need to finish a quest for it, or you need to discover new recipes by either crafting things you haven't crafted before or collecting materials that you haven't collected before. Remember that anytime you're exploring and you see that red aura on an item or an object or a structure, go and click on it until the red aura disappears, because this will add new entries to your journal, new quests to your journal, and also will add new markers to your map as well. Rescue and bring back your craftspeople early on in the game, and then follow their quest lines, because they will continually unlock new equipment, new gear, new workstations, new workshops, and tons of different ways for you to expand your game. And that's the world of Enshrouded. I did my best to keep this as high level and simple as I could. There's tons of other things going into building, the specifics of building and how to put things together, farming, how to build play styles and character builds and all the gear in the game that comes together. But hopefully this serves as a great beginner's guide for your jump into Enshrouded. Let me know down in the comments if there's other video topics you'd like me to cover. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.